DBM, and welcome to the SCLA. This event is a testament to the commitment and community we all share as colleagues and friends. Every year we hold this executive forum to share experiences and to learn from one another. Since the last time we gathered together in person, the world has morphed into a new way of working and being together. This seismic shift is reflected in this year's theme: reinvent, reimagine, and reinvigorate. The SCLA contacts and friendships are lifelines that will help you persevere and adapt to this new reality. Whether you're joining us virtually or in person, take full advantage of the SCLA thought leadership and fellowship by engaging in your peer group, participating in the sessions, asking questions through the chat feature, and completing the session's online polling. Regardless of how you participate, you'll discover that within the spirit of SCLA lies the strongest link in your global supply chain. I encourage you to watch the pitch tank videos to earn points towards the grand prize, a 3-day wine country getaway in Napa Valley. And if you miss a session, you'll be able to view it later, since all the sessions will remain live on the platform for 30 days after the event. Soon we'll be gathered together in person at the Marriott Sanibel Harbor, and I look forward to seeing you there.
Here we are at the Sanibel Marriott Harbor, and hello all of you virtually, and are we not excited that we are gathered in person? Wow, it's been 2 years, 2019, and we stood here, not on this exact stage, but in this exact resort, and I cannot tell you how excited I am for the next couple of days and how thrilled I am that each of you made a point to be here in person. And we have 400 of you out there virtually, and I want you to know I want this to be important to you. I want you to feel involved, and I want to thank you because you have thrown a challenge. I'm not quite sure who that leader is, but there's virtual attendees out there that are leading our gamification. So all of you in the room, you have to up your game. You got to win. Come on, did you see those grand prizes? But anyway, this year's theme, as we had talked about, is about reimagine, reinvigorate, and what are you going to do with your life? What's your word? I think it's about resilience. So we're going to have a great opening, really fun keynote. She's going to come up here in just a bit, and she's going to talk to you about what is that one word that you have chosen this year that's going to change you professionally and personally. If there's one word that you could rally around, what would it be? What has spoken to you? What describes where we've been, what we've gone through? So for me, that word is resilience. And I think that as I look on this room, and I know all of you that are watching from your computer screens, that you all are the most resilient people in the industry. Supply chain. You know what? We get things done. We have strategy, but the most important thing, what we do better than any other profession is we execute on the strategy. We know that we can have a vision, and we know what steps that we need to do to manifest that and to make it into a reality. And that's what we've done as a team. All of you. I mean, how many people have been on a call with me in this exact dress? I wore this purposefully. It's my blue dress. Like, does she have anything else to wear? But, you know, we have been on these calls. We have done so much. So I just want to say thank you for showing up. Thank you for being there. The SCLA is for the members and by the members, and you will get out of this program exactly what you put into it. Now, there's been some incredible men and women that have put it together. So you're going to get the top thought leadership. You're going to get wonderful strategies, proven strategies, things that actually work. And you also have to remember that what is said here stays here. It is a very, very confidential group. We're here as lifelines to help each other. And one thing before we get started, I'm going to talk about the app in a minute, but I want you to make new friends. So there are people that are attending SCLA for the first time right here live. Make sure, if those of you that have been with us before, that you meet them, that you greet them, and you make them feel like they're part of our family. Because for those of us on the inside, and we want you all on the inside, what you're going to find is that this is just a great big family reunion. And so we're going to do some fun things. We're going to have some fun. But before I get started, for those virtually and for those in the room, I really want to make sure you know how to use your app. Now, if you had any problems downloading it, let them know at the registration desk. But hopefully, everybody was able to download the app. It's very easy to do that. You can see on the screen here, I'm going to go through a couple of things. So if you're joining us in person, this is what your app looks like. And if you're joining us virtually, this is what you're seeing. You zoomed in, you're not here with us, but you feel like it because this is exactly where we are. And all of these things are clickable in the auditorium. So whether it's the peer groups, you're going to go to your peer groups virtually, and you're going to use those Zoom links. That's very important. The rest of you will actually have the peer group listing, and I'm going to have a slide for that that'll talk to you a little bit about that. All sessions, everything is in the auditorium. So you want to enter virtually into the auditorium to attend all sessions. It's coming to you live right here, streamed from Florida. Educational resource members, these are our companies. They do a lot of heavy lifting. And so you'll see all of them listed there in the educational resource members. They're here to be just that, a resource to you. They offer products and solutions that really can help become a competitive weapon in your supply chain. So you want to look at that. And we talked about the pitch tank. The pitch tank is the grand finale. It's going to happen here live on stage. And we have 4 great contenders. So make sure you're watching their videos. So how do you connect? Because if you connect, you get points. So there's a little, you can see that little QR code in the upper right-hand corner. So what you want to do is you want to go to your QR, and if you want to share your contact, you can do that. This is what it is. This will be sharing your contact. So you will go there. And why don't we all just look at this in your app? I mean, we're doing this together. I want to take our time to do this. And for those virtually, just give me a moment. I'm going to get to you, I promise. But I want to make sure that everyone can connect. For those virtually, you connect through chatting. So start chatting right now. We want to see you out there chatting. You're going to get points for chatting too. And we want you to feel very much like you're a part of this because you are, and we care about you. So there it is. Then look at that scan code. And then you go and you chat. So everybody find someone to chat with. Maybe go online and you'll see the people that are chatting. Chat back. Make a friend. Make an online friend. Let's make the virtual people feel obviously engaged. So again, whether you're in person or virtual, you have 2 different formats. Now, I did notice that some of you, and it's really smart, if you have a laptop, I will say the laptop application is a lot nicer as far as being just actually, it's really cool from the looks-wise, but it's also very easy to navigate. But I think our cell phones are the most easy. So again, I talked about the sessions. All of them are listed by times and, many ways. So you're going to see the program schedule. All of this is on here. Educational Center, we discussed that. And then this is all our virtual booths, as you can see here. The Peer Group Lounge. And here is where the peer groups are. So take a look at this. You might want to take a screenshot in the different areas. So distribution operations and talent management is in Hibiscus. Continuous improvement is in Banyan. Customer relationship management and supply chain and logistics strategy is in Harborview. Procurement and inventory management is in Cypress. Senior executive, Calusa Ballroom, and transportation and demand planning right across here in Orchid. The only one is on the first floor is Harborview. So you will see signage outside, and it is important. Make sure you attend your peer groups. That's the interactive. For those virtually, you're going to join your peer group via that Zoom link. So if you haven't done it already, I want you right now to go into the peer group, and you've already chosen your peer group. Check out that link. It will be live, and you should have an invitation that was sent to you via email with the Zoom code. So that's how you're going to join us today, and you're all going to be chatting virtually. So you're going to be with an entirely virtual audience, and I want to make sure that you are interactive and ask lots of questions because that's your time to actually be interactive via Zoom. So moving on. We had the point system. This is the fun part. The leaderboard, right? Okay, so I'm not sure, Matt, how many points are we up to? I think I saw someone had like 600 points, and we hadn't even quite started the event yet. I don't know. I know you're out there, too. Good job. So 700 points. So let's get going. How do you get points? Well, there's this thing called a scavenger hunt. You got to find the little icons, which is a lot of fun. Completing the polls. Now, we don't want you to complete them way in advance. We actually want you to attend the sessions and complete the polls. That would be good because I think some people have stacked the polls. Every time you interact, every time you chat, and every time you make a connection, you get a point. Watch the pitch tank videos, visit the educational resource members, and actually there's lots of great materials. Download it in your swag bag. You see you have the little swag bag. That's pretty cool. So lots of things. We spent a lot of time on the app, but it's really just a tool. And what is the purpose of the tool? It's to connect all of you, and it's the gamification. It's just fun. And more than anything else, we're in person. We've been in our Zoom worlds, and I just want us in the room to enjoy it, to connect. And all of you, I want you here in person next year. I don't want you virtually. I want you in person. So please come and join us. Okay, so there we are. And again, getting back to the men and the women that really have created this. So we talked all about the sessions. The grand prize, which we talked about, was also the Napa Valley. So there's going to be 3 days. For those of you that have not heard the news, I am a Napa Valley winemaker, and I do put up the grand prize, and I will tell you that I'll be there if I can to see you. So we had Werner won last year, and he was so excited, and it came down. I think it was Carolyn. I think you were duking it out. It's so much fun. So remember, the gamification is fun. We also have Michael Jacobs. He's in the back, and he has an awesome wine cooler. But you can see these up here are our grand prize tables. So we have crystal, we have all kinds of amazing things, but that all comes through the gamification, and so that'll be the very, very end. So that'll be the grand finale. So we'll have a lot of fun with that. Take it from the top. Did you notice out here we have a little TV set up? If you didn't, when you walk out the door, look right. Why is that there? What are we doing with that? We want you, as thought leaders, to take some time. There's a sign-up sheet at registration, but Helen will be there all day today and tomorrow, and she's there because we really want to capture your thoughts. You are the best minds in the business, and we have a combination of industry and academia. So let us know what your take is on some of the top issues, the most challenging issues. And then the video belongs to the SCLA, so it's not going to go anywhere. I don't want you to worry about, you know what, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to do this interview, and I'm going to be misquoted. No, that's not going to happen. You're going to sit down, you're going to do an interview. You can Helen will ask the question that you want, or a couple questions that are based on what we have been told are the hottest issues. And we're going to partner with Supply Chain Brain, and we're going to take these, and throughout the year they're going to be peppered through. So about 250, 400,000 supply chain executives want to hear what the thought leadership is that's coming from this group. We all know it's by invitation. We're a small group, we're a family, but we're duty bound to a certain degree to share some of the thought leadership in a way that is appropriate, that you approve. So I do encourage you very much. It's the first year we've done Take It From the Top. I'm really excited. I'm all about doing new things, but I think it's about being innovation. What's part of resilience? You have to innovate. How are you reinvigorating? How are you reimagining? I had to do that with my education executive team and everyone in this room. What is the SCLA? And what I found, the SCLA was the most important was the relationships, the family that we had. So when we all went dark and we were all in a cubicle, and the only way we communicate is through Zoom, we had each other. We had lifelines. We got on the phone. We said, hey, how are you dealing with this problem? I'm really in trouble. Can you help me out? And, product was moved. Goods were moved. PPE was found. We solved a lot of crises, and we solved it because we had a community. That's what the SCLA is. And in the process of doing this, the thought leadership was developed. How do you solve the biggest problems? How do you sprint a marathon? Because we have been in a 2-year marathon. So anyway, that's what Take It From the Top is. Tonight, Circle of Excellence. That is a command performance. One of the highlights, Tom, is it not? Is a Circle of Excellence. It's absolutely spectacular, super fun. It's going to be a wine paired dinner honoring, of course, Lenovo, our Circle of Excellence Award winner, and Michael Jacobs, our Distinguished Service Award winner. So that's tonight. We're going to acknowledge all those people. But right now, I want to say thank you to the committees that have put this together. So we're going to start with David Landy. He's right over there. He has brought the largest in-person team. He's our executive committee chair. David, stand up, please, and let us give him a round of applause. Yeah. And thank you for bringing that really big team. We appreciate it. We also have the program today. It's being brought to you by the Supply Chain Women in Action. So the luncheon will be happening. We are involving everybody in the luncheon because, you know, part of diversity is really inclusion. So for the luncheon, we want it to be everybody, but they've really worked to create something fun, something lighthearted, and that's how we're going to start the program off. But chairing that committee is, here she is, Mary Rollman. Please stand up. Mary, she's a partner with KPMG. There you go. She's going to be coming on stage in just a bit. But our education committee chair is going to come up to the stage right now, and that's going to be Todd Steffen, and he's the one that's really done a lot of the hard work with the committee. So here, let's give a round of applause to Todd.
Thank you very much, Amy. And how about a hand for Amy and just all the effort that goes into this thing? I think you should get an award from Zoom, from Teams, you should be like a spokesperson for the virtual world. Just amazing to see so many people come together in person. It's really awesome. I think last time we did this, we were sanitizing microphones and, still dealing with masks and all that kind of stuff. Any travel issues? Anybody have travel issues getting here? Show of hands. My only issue is that there was no air conditioning in the elevator, so we need to work on it. But no, it was great to see all the effort people put into making it here in person and to attend virtually. I'm looking at you in the camera. It's really an amazing community, as Amy mentioned, and really a family that comes together to pull off not only the event each year, the conference, but the education meetings that we have, the peer group sessions, and everything like that. It's really kind of, for me, a 10-year journey with the SCLA has really become, like an extended family, and so it's great to see everybody here. We're going to have an awesome set of sessions today. Matt, if we could put that up on the board. Folks have really worked hard putting time into these sessions and doing the recorded videos and everything like that. So we just want to make sure you get to as many as you can, and you not only view the sessions, but then talk to the folks afterwards and really try to dialogue and interact within the sessions. It's been a lot of time, obviously, that has gone into the sessions, but also, as Amy mentioned, the thought leadership and the exchange of ideas is really kind of a key theme for the SCLA. So we can go ahead, Matt, and kind of flip through. Obviously, we have the keynote coming up. I'm not going to steal Mary's thunder. Super sessions will be in this room, right? And as you can see, we just have a very diverse set of topics, but we also have topics that are most important to the folks in the room, right? We've kind of polled throughout the year. We've polled the members of the SCLA and said, what do you want to hear about most? And so these are the sessions that we've put together for you. I'm excited about our keynote speaker, and I am going to ask Mary Rollman to come up and do the introduction for that.
Is there a video that we want to run?
right, so that was the opening of my presentation, which now everybody has mentioned my name who's been up on stage. So I'm Mary Rollman, currently a partner at KPMG. I lead the supply chain strategy organization for the firm. I've been in SCLA for about 10 years, and this year I lead I'm chairing the committee for the Women in Action. So if you've been around, you know that every year the Women in Action Committee, we set the tone. We take some time and we think about what do we want the theme to be. And this year, Amy and I took some time and we were thinking about, what could be different, right? How are people feeling? Let's take a pulse. And we were talking about how stories have changed. Everybody has collectively changed. We're going to talk about one word, but really we've all changed, and now we're going to rewrite our stories, and there's going to be a new chapter, and there's all these good things that can come out of it. So how can we bake that into what we're going to talk about at SCLA? So we are going to have a presenter come up and talk, but first I wanted to take a moment and recognize Jane Francino, who was our committee chair last year. She led a wonderful, wonderful panel, and she wasn't able to join us in person, but she's out there in the virtual world. So can we just do a really quick round of applause from inside for Jane? So thank you, Jane. Okay, so we've all heard I get to introduce our keynote presenter, and I had one job to do, and we unfortunately have no idea where she is. She was here, I thought, and then I couldn't find her. And so I'm up here now to try to figure out with Amy what we're going to do, because right now our keynote is missing in action. Oh, I see we do have a keynote speaker here. Are we right, Amy? Well, after last night, everybody needs to be hydrated. Well, welcome to the stage, Kelly Swanson, everybody.
What, like you never had to get a second job? I needed it just to pay the gas to get over here from the airport. Sue me. Need a little time to get set up. Just bear with me. Got to do everything around here. You'll be fine. In case somebody calls. Did y'all get these in your bag? What? Gotta have a pen. Hey, everybody at home. I bet you don't have on pants, do you? Yeah, that's like the most overused joke. Gotta get my notes. Oh, that's my grocery list. Hold on. Oh, that's yesterday's speech. Okay, here we go. Good morning. I hope you're all good now, because I've moved on to my second job. I enjoyed being the server. For you back home today, I've been working since 7 o'clock, serving the tables. I was pretty good at it. It's a little bit outside of my comfort zone. I hadn't done that in a long time. It's harder than it looks. But it's a little bit out of my comfort zone. I'm going to admit it. But that's okay, because if anything taught me to come out of my comfort zone, it was 2020 and 2021, and to be honest, a little bit of 2022. It's hard coming out of your comfort zone. But I learned some things. Despite what a tough couple of years it's been, at least for me anyway, maybe y'all are fine. Maybe you're bounced all back to normal. Good for you. But for me, I'm not quite bounced back yet. But I learned a lot because, see, I'm also, in addition to being a server, I'm also a motivational speaker and a comedian, which means that I tell you you can do anything. And then I tell you I'm just kidding. I know what you're thinking, motivational speaker. I thought she'd be skinnier. Yeah, so did I. According to my New Year's resolution, at this point, I'm supposed to have lost 30 pounds and have buff arms. Instead, I'm pretty sure my muffin top just had twins. Is that too much information? I did join a gym, though, so you can be proud of me for that. I joined a gym. I don't always go in. Sometimes I just sit in the parking lot, eat my donuts, watch people go in. And I love it because then later that afternoon at the Walmart, they'll come up to me and say, "Did I see you in the gym today?" I'll be like, "Yes, you did. You sure did." I told my trainer, though, I said, "This is confusing." I said, "Y'all got a whole different language in this gym. Using phrases like pump it up, embrace the pain, work it, work it." I said, "Where I come from, if you feel the burn, you need to go get that checked out." I'm just saying. In case you can't tell from my accent, I should have gotten that out right away. I'm from Jersey, the South Side. No, I'm originally from Georgia, born and raised up there. I still got people there in Smyrna, Atlanta, Marietta, Cell Block D. Then I shamed them all, and I moved up north to High Point. I come from a place where we're known for our grits, our hospitality, and our spray-painted marriage proposals, where you can go 3 cornrows past the water tower and see where Billy Ray Bob climbed late one hour and he sprayed in red, "Will you marry me, Heather?" and spelled it wrong. So yeah, as a motivational speaker, I'm going to tell you what, it's been a tough couple of years because people have been calling me to come in and cheer everybody up, when half the time I was running on empty myself. But I learned some things. We always look on the bright side when you're a motivational speaker. I learned some things in 2020. I thought I'd share that with you right away in case it's going to inspire you. I learned that people are kind. At heart, y'all, they're kind. Till you sneeze in line behind them at the grocery store. I've learned that social distance can be a good thing, but not everybody seems to understand what 6 feet is. Makes me wonder, what else are overestimating? I'm talking about fishing. Yes, good grief. I learned that there's a point where the yoga pants are finally going to stop stretching. I got 47 pairs of yoga pants. I wear them everywhere, except yoga. I learned that they're not going to think it's cute to send your child to Zoom Sunday school with a goatee, horns, and a flaming fire video background. They will not think that's funny. I have learned that nobody's going to look good in a face mask. Just face it. And that blowing bubbles in a plastic shield is not a good idea. Neither is a do-it-yourself pantyhose mask. That's a Pinterest fail, especially if you're going in a liquor store. They'll think you're trying to rob the place. I've learned that liquor's always going to be essential if you're always going to have something known as remote school. Anybody in here had to do the teaching? It's pretty scary. What happened to carry the one? I'm just saying. I mean, right? They got rid of that. I learned that if they lock down the stores, you can't go to that Ulta makeup store and bang on the glass and tell them that you're out of your favorite eyeshadow, burnt amber number 13, because now what are you supposed to wear to your cousin's remote wedding? I learned that everybody's getting sick of Zoom meetings. Even the stalkers are tired of looking into your house. Just saying, ruined it for everybody. I've learned what it's like to watch my entire livelihood that I have spent 20 years trying to build, my family's livelihood, the launch of my theater one-woman show right at the beginning of 2020. I've learned what it's like to watch everything disappear. In almost what felt like a week, my entire calendar was wiped out. I've learned what it's like to worry about my parents getting it. I've learned what it's like to worry about me getting it with my condition. But despite all that, but still, I learned that life gives you silver linings if you just know where to look. I've learned that sometimes the worst part of your life will lead you to the best part of your life. That's what I learned, if you choose to write that story. Because you see, in addition to all these jobs I have, I teach the power of story. How we connect and engage with others through strategic storytelling. How you motivate and inspire, starting with yourself. Don't worry, we won't go too deep today. It's early. I think some of y'all were out drinking. I'm just saying. So I'm here to talk about story-driven leadership. And I loved walking the room, being the server. Because I believe that as a leader, I'm a leader too. We're all leaders in different ways. I believe everybody is, because we have the power to impact and influence the people who cross our path. Whether you choose that or not, whether it says it on your job description or not, we are all in incredible positions of influence. And I loved walking around the room this morning because I believe as a leader, it's not always about what happens up here on that platform or the microphone that we get. I believe that our biggest influences and moments of impact happen in the hallways. When we're serving, when we're taking a moment to connect, when we share our story with somebody else, and we take a moment to hear a piece of theirs, that's where influence happens. The simple art of remembering somebody's name will take you far. It's weird being I don't know if y'all have done that job before, but have you noticed how invisible it makes you feel? You feel invisible. Now, I know, it's hard for me because I'm used to being clapped in. But I felt so invisible, and it reminded me of all these audiences that I've gone to over all these years. When people would say, how do we make our people happy? How do we as leaders, the conductors of this symphony, inspire people? How do we do it? I'm like, I don't know how to make people happy. I think that's the wrong question anyway. I believe it's about making people feel valued. How do we make them feel valued? I'll give you one secret. It's what I've learned from my perspective. Maybe you'll have a different one. We can discuss it later in the hallway. But as a motivational speaker and walking the hallways with people in every kind of industry you can imagine, I've listened to them, to their pains and their desires and what they want, and people want to be seen. They want to be heard. They want to be acknowledged. They want to be respected. And they want to be remembered. Are we doing that? How do we do it? Are we tripping over the small moments, racing towards the big ones? I'll tell you how I do it, through story. Story can get in where information and data cannot. I'm just saying. This is one of those new Starbucks cups that changes colors. It's been one color the whole time. I need to take it back. I'm just saying. Anyway, where was I? Oh, my phone's ringing. It's not supposed. Can I just get it real quick? Just real quick. Just real quick, real fast. That's all. Real fast, I promise. Hey, Earl. Yeah, I can't talk, Earl. I'm giving a speech. No, not peach, speech. Put your hearing aid in. I'm giving a speech. Yes, I'm talking. Yes, it is too a real job. No, it doesn't pay very much. I'll take whatever I can get these days, right? I'm just saying. Yeah. No, I gotta go, Earl. Supply chain. No, not fly chain people. What is that even, Earl? No, these are supply chain people. Like leaders. I don't know exactly what they do. But they get stuff done, Earl. They're responsible for getting what you need where you need it. I know that much. No, I'm not going to ask them where your Peloton is. Good grief, Earl. And why'd you order a Peloton anyway? I told you not to order one from a flea market. You can't even work the electronic thing over at the Piggly Wiggly. How are you going to work an electric bike? No, Earl. No, seriously, I got to go. This is important. They are all looking at me, Earl. No, I'm not going to ask them if they've seen 2,000 mules. Yeah, nobody laughed, Earl. They're giving me the stink eye now. I got to go. It's all right. I'll tell them. No, it's too late to get your story in the paper. I've already got it on their tables. Everybody's already got a copy of it. It's too late. Story's already gone out, Earl. Okay, I'll tell them. Yes, I will. Okay. You want to let me know you're praying for them? Okay, I'll let you know you're praying for them. And you got an extra truck in case they need it. All right. Bye, Earl. I got to go. Bye. Sorry about that. Another one of my jobs is I'm editor of the Pride's Hollow Gazette. You all got a copy on your table. Don't read it now. Save it. That's good bathroom reading. I'm just saying. But they're always calling me. I hope they won't call again, but they're always calling me with the stories to put in the paper. Like Earl just said, you got to tell them about Granny Jean. So, real quick, before I get back to my speech, I got to tell you what happened to my Granny Jean. Can I just take a minute? Yes. Okay, good. He said I could. Me and Granny Jean were over at the Piggly Wiggly grocery store, and she had an incident. I was there, y'all. I saw it. We are just walking down. We had just gone to the pharmacy section to pick up her medication, and now we're walking over to the other aisle to the snack cakes with the little sprinkles on top that she likes. And we were walking down that aisle, and all of a sudden, she has a pure tea, bona fide hissy fit. That's right. She starts shaking, and she's turning red, and she's clutching her chest, and I thought maybe they had the music up too loud. You remember what happened last time? Then I thought, well, maybe it's that couple that keeps blocking the whole aisle. You know that one. And then I thought, oh, no, maybe she's having a heart attack. And maybe I need to give her the CPR. And I don't remember the CPR because did you know they changed it? I saw it on the cover of the Oprah magazine. They changed the CPR. I didn't read the article. Finally, I looked and I noticed that Granny Jean, she was pointing to her pill bottle. And y'all, she's holding up that pill bottle and it's got instructions. They make it in a real big font where Granny Jean can see it. And it said right there, I saw it, I'm speaking truth. Right under the instructions where normally it says, take one pill daily whole. Today it said, take one pill daily, and instead of the L, there was an R. Take one pill daily. The pharmacist had called my Granny Jean a prostitute. Now I'm upset. So we march over to that pharmacist, and I'm going to tell you what, we had some words. Everybody's all fired up. Finally, the pharmacist calms everybody down. He's like, Miss Jean, it's just a mistake. It was a typo. It was a mistake. I said, it's supposed to say whole. I said, Granny Jean, we got to forgive and forget. Servant's heart. It's just an innocent mistake. Or was it? Because the pharmacist's assistant who types up the labels was still mad at my Granny Jean for taking her boyfriend in the 10th grade. I'm just saying. I was so excited, Amy, when you told me your convention theme was reinvent, reimagine, and reinvigorate. That's good. That's a lot of re's. Reinvent, reimagine, and reinvigorate. And she said, Kelly, could you speak around that today? And I said, yes, I can. And I'm so super excited because that is exactly what we've all been doing in Pride's Hollow. What a coincidence. We've all been reinventing. I don't have time to tell you the whole story. You can go online to the episodes and hear about Old Man Withers and how he left money to the entire town on one condition: that you do something brave. Something maybe that you've never done before, that you come out of your comfort zone, that you reinvent and reimagine your life. So everybody's been just going crazy trying to figure out what they want to do to come out of their comfort zone. Like Harriet. Now, Harriet wasn't one for challenges. She's been in a gray period ever since her husband, Harold, passed. And he was sitting in a recliner watching Wheel of Fortune one night, just slipped away. Looked like he was sleeping and dreaming of buying a vowel. Harriet and Harold Baumgartner, they lived in that white house with the green shutters over on Front Street, mailbox with little daisies on it. They were the type of couple who didn't get overly excited about anything. They lived in shades of beige. They colored inside the lines. They were the couple that always got invited to the parties, but afterwards you couldn't exactly remember if you'd seen them there. Didn't get overly excited about religion or politics. They just coasted. So nobody expected Harriet to fall apart. Why would she? She knitted her way through the various stages of grief and sat in her recliner wondering what she was supposed to do now. Like I said, she wasn't much for challenges. She didn't have time for such silliness, but she was standing outside in her front yard on that Saturday morning when the mailman was coming by, and Noreen next door had marched over to give her a lecture on how she should cut her grass in angles, not in straight lines. That was Noreen's love language. Her father was a colonel, and the longer she lectured, that meant the more she loved you. She's about 4 feet tall. If she had a body type, it'd be rope. And her lectures were always punctuated by that oxygen tank she'd carry with her. She still smoked. At least it's a rumor, unless Marlboro's come out with a new perfume. So Noreen was giving her a lecture. The mailman was coming up. They got to talking about that challenge. What are you going to do? I don't know. What are you going to do? And then Harriet suddenly out of nowhere knew exactly what she would do when she saw that Buick sitting in her driveway. It was sitting there waiting for the kids to come pick it up and go sell. And all of a sudden, Harriet had this feeling that she knew wasn't indigestion. It was a burning in her soul. She knew exactly what she would do if she were brave. She'd learn to drive that Buick. Now, you may be thinking, learn to drive, that's weird. Who doesn't learn to drive? Well, they lived up in the city. They didn't need a car. They moved down. They retired. They only needed one car at that point. She just never learned. And she asked Harold to teach her once, and he said, oh, maybe one day, and he didn't. And it had become her one regret. And so before her head could talk her out of it, giving her all these reasons, what would the kids say? What if she had an accident? What if? The head talks us out of all these things, but the heart disagreed. Because when the head and the heart disagree, often the heart will win. And so before she even had a second to change her mind, she said, Noreen, I want you to teach me how to drive that Buick. Today, I'm going to scatter Harold's ashes. She figured that'd be a good use of the gas in case he was listening. Noreen was so excited. You see, her zeal for helping other people far outweighed the amount of people who actually cared about her help. She said, I'll be right back. She ran back inside. She came back out with a whistle, a clipboard, a machete, and a burner cell phone to tape inside the trunk in case they got abducted, like she saw on the Law and the Order. It didn't bother them that neither of them had a license, because Noreen's third cousin's nephew was a sheriff or state trooper or something, and she knew he'd get them out of it if they got in any trouble. They jumped in that car and they set out to the church parking lot to drive around. Harriet was so scared, y'all. She had her hands gripped around that steering wheel. Noreen had a sink or swim style of teaching. She said, here's the brake, here's the gas, there's your blinker, let's go. And every time Harriet made a mistake, Noreen would blow that whistle right in her ear, and Harriet would cry a little bit. But after a while, she started to get used to driving. And it wasn't as hard as she thought. She thought, why, it was harder to run that newfangled dishwasher the kids had given them. She started to get the hang of it. And then finally said, all right. Noreen said, all right, Harriet, you're ready. She said, ready? Ready for what? She said, to drive on the highway. You're not a driver till you drive on the highway. Harry says, I can't drive on the highway. Noreen says, yes, you can. And so they set out. Noreen says, we'll find a place. There's a lake up Route 29. We'll scatter Harold somewhere up there. So they got in the car. They got on the highway. Y'all, Harriet, she was so nervous. She was wound as tight as that bun on the back of her neck. Her hands were gripping the steering wheel. And she thought of all the things that could go wrong. But then she thought of all the things that could go right. And she took a deep breath and she drove. And she started to get the hang of it, and she relaxed and she loosened her hands, and she turned the radio up 4 notches higher than Harold ever let her listen to it. She rolled the windows down. Wind came in through that car, whipping her hair out of her bun, smacking her in the face. She's singing. She's having the time of her life till the hair got in her eyes, and then she swerved, and then Noreen let out a string of curse words that would make a sailor blush, and they had to roll them back up. It was the best day. They finally found where they were going to scatter Harold, and Noreen said, let's get gas first. So they stopped at the gas station that was just about there, and they pulled in to get the gas, and they're putting it in there, and they look in the back seat, and both of them gasp in horror. Because Harold, whose urn had been put in the seat belt in the back seat of the car, somewhere along that adventure had tipped over. Top had come off. And Harold's remains were sprinkled all over the back seat of that car like a flour sifter gone bad. The last of Harold's earthly essence had been prematurely scattered. They didn't know what to do. Noreen said, well, don't see as there's much we can do. We're just going to have to vacuum him up. There's a soapy suds up the road a piece. No use crying over spilled ashes. And they got tickled over that. And they started to laugh. And don't you judge them. Harold had a great sense of humor, and he would have been laughing right along with them. They found a pretty lake as they waved to it. And if you had driven by that day, the car wash, you would not have been able to figure out why those two old ladies were standing there laughing, praying, singing, and putting quarters in that vacuum machine. And they swore when they drove the car out through the car wash that they could detect a faint scent of Harold's Old Spice. That night while she was sitting in her recliner, knitting Noreen a thank you sweater, she said, Harold, I think I'll keep it just a little bit longer, just in case. And she was pretty sure he nodded. Sometimes life gives you an opportunity to reinvent, to reimagine, and reinvigorate your life. And if somebody were to ask you today, what would you do if you were brave? I wonder what your Buick would be. And if you ever need the courage, you go up that Soapy Suds up Route 29 in Pride's Hollow. You go through the car wash and people will swear when you come out the other side, you smell a hint of that Old Spice. Yeah. What would you do if you were brave? Speaking of highways, where are you on the highway of your life? Are you in the red zone? Are you stalled? Are you stuck? The cars are piling up. You crashed? Are you in the green lane? Life is great. You're spinning all the plates. You're doing it all. You're checking all the boxes. You got the windows rolled down. Your hair's flying. Life is good. Or are you in the yellow lane? Start and stop. One day good, one day bad. You're just not sure what the future's going to bring. What lane are you in? You know, they did a Career Explorer poll on the internet. They polled a ton of people and asked them how satisfied they are in their jobs. I looked at what supply chain managers said. 2.8 out of 5. The bottom 17 or 18% of careers. And I think that was done before COVID. There was another study done, I'm pretty sure it was a couple of years ago. The latest Gallup poll said that over 76% of people are disengaged in their work. Imagine that. Over 70% of people have checked out of their jobs. They've quit, they just haven't left yet. I almost didn't believe it. I do now. Thanks to something called the Great Resignation. I don't know where they all went. And see, our job as leaders, or mine as a motivational speaker, is how do we engage these people? How do we make them fall in love with their job again, and fall in love with the mission, and fall in love with the vision, and fall in love with the reason and the why they do what they do, and why it matters to you, to your brand, and to the people that you serve. I'm on a movement. We're not going to do it today, but I'm on this colossal movement to help organizations craft not just their brand and their vision story, but every person craft your here's what I do and why it matters to me, to my brand, and to my customer. There's more information in that in your free gift. I'm giving you all a free gift in case you wanted more content, less silly and fun. It's in the Gazette. How you access it, you'll get a copy of my book, The Story Formula. You'll get a training video about how the art of story meets the business of persuasion, and you can go down that road to what I've learned. The psychology and the science behind using story to persuade. Because here, and I'm just going to say this and then I'll leave it, here is where the rubber meets the road, as they say, where I come from. As leaders, we're all trying to get people to do something. All of us are in the business of persuasion, really. Trying to get somebody to date you, to marry you, to unmarry you. Trying to get a team rallied around a vision. Trying to get a customer to buy a product. Trying to get someone to choose you. Trying to get your kid to clean up his room. Can I hear an amen? we're all trying to persuade people to do something, and we have all learned quite quickly that the key is not, well, we've learned that telling people what to do is not the same as making them want to do it, is it? Manipulating is not the same as motivating. There is a difference in telling them what they need to do and giving them words and handing them a notebook with a new vision statement typed up on them and told them, go embody it. There is a difference in telling people what to do and making them want to do it. That's the difference. And the bridge is story. I promise that's your Trojan horse. But we don't have time to go into that. Because here's the gist of it where I wanted to get to today when I thought about what's the message I've been sent here today to give you. It may be weird, I may be wacky, my methods may be uncanny, I may not be the best speaker you've ever seen, but I was still sent here in this moment to give you a message, and I take that seriously. This is my divine appointment. And I remember thinking, what do I need to tell them? It's not about telling people what they need. It's about what is their pain? What do they need to hear? And maybe it's not all of you, but some of you need to hear that none of this out there will work if you don't work. If you're tired, if you've lost sight of the vision, if you're overly anxious and afraid, and I get it. If your muscles are weak, you cannot lift up your team. And I feel like that's what I was supposed to tell you today. Because if you're running on empty, you're no good to them. If there's a kink in the chain, oh, we have a whole story about that. I don't have time to tell you. Maybe I'll tell you later this afternoon, but about Duvel over at the print shop, there was an ad for the Children's Museum. They started this new exotic animals exhibit. Well, she's tired, she can't see. Autocorrect, I don't know what it was, but instead of exotic animals, she put erotic animal. You can imagine the parents of the kindergartners getting a newsletter saying the children were going on a field trip to the erotic animals exhibit. Come to the petting zoo. Parent involvement encouraged. Or the bed and breakfast that said they were going to have a buy one, get one special. It includes erotic animals. Please take pictures and submit them on Facebook. Got their Facebook page shut down. They're not complaining, though. That hotel's booked up through the end of the month. Just saying. Pride's Hollow's now got a billboard going into town that says, come to Pride's Hollow. We pride ourselves on our erotic animals and clean bathrooms. I'm just saying. Sometimes life forces you to reinvent, and sometimes it's your children. Sometimes it's your children. That's what happened to Ed Jenkins. My husband told me before I left the house, he said, honey, tell him about Ed Jenkins. That's my favorite story. So if you don't like it, you blame him. His name's Bill Swanson. He's in the basement gathering supplies. He's a prepper. Oh, you laugh now. I'm just saying. Ed Jenkins didn't have time for any foolish nonsense about a challenge. He was a sales guy. He worked hard. He lived by a checklist of things that made sense and made money. He believed your worth was about how much you had accrued and how much you are protecting and providing for your family. So when he's sitting at the dinner table and he hears about this stupid challenge and somebody had told him, you get a chance to act like a child again, Ed thought that was foolish. Childhood was overrated. He didn't like the one he had. Why would he want to go back? And don't judge him until you know somebody's story. The way everybody sees the world is a factor of their filter, of the story they've lived. We cannot judge. So Ed sat there at the dinner table, his children all looking at him. Can we, Dad? Can we, Dad? Can we do the challenge, Dad, as a family? He's like, we're not participating in such nonsense. And he had on that end of discussion face. And his wife, Sarah, grabbed his arm and she gave him a look. I don't know, you married people, you know how we can have that whole look, whole conversation and not even say a word right there in front of the kids, right? And they had this whole conversation, and her look basically said, I don't ask you for much, but I'm asking you for this. Ed sighed and said, all right, what are we going to do? And all the kids looked down at their plates except his youngest, Seth. Seth looked up. Seth was a spitting image of Ed. Seth said, I know what we want to do, Dad. We want to jump in the leaves. You never let us jump in the leaves. What Seth didn't know is that Ed had suddenly gone to a place in his own childhood where he'd remembered being a kid looking out the window at that family across the street that jumped in the leaves, laughing, throwing leaves. A white dog with a red collar, he could still remember it. And you're probably thinking, so what? We rake leaves, we laugh, what's the big deal? It is a big deal. Sometimes life looks a whole lot different when somebody's looking outside a window at your life. So Ed said, all right, we'll do it. We'll rake the leaves. I don't think anybody's ever tackled a feat like that, like Ed did. Spreadsheets, supplies, planning it, measuring it. Where are we going to make the leaves? Let's put the trampoline under it, and then we'll get even more height. Let's put it out under that long branch, and we can drop down off of it. And they piled up those leaves on Saturday morning. There was more than one curtain flickering in that window. And many windows on that street as people were staring out at the Jenkins yard at a sight they didn't see often. They'd run out of leaves, so they even went to the neighbors, started gathering their leaves, making this big old pile, and they started to drop down off that branch, and they would jump, all of them. You could see the pile clear down the street. You could hear their laughter even further. Ed's loudest of all. The kids had never seen their dad laugh like that. With dirt on his sweater and a leaf sticking out of his hair. He would just laugh and fall back in those leaves, his arms outstretched. What they couldn't see was that Ed was going back to a childhood he never had. They stayed out till dark. They had hot chocolate. It was a perfect day. A couple weeks later, Ed came back and had a surprise for the whole family. You are not going to believe what he brought home. Oh, hey. I really just did that to keep him from getting a back view of my rear end. I'm saying that's bribing photos right there. But you're not going to believe what Ed brought home. He brought home a dog, a white one with a red collar. The dog he swore they would never have. The dog that chewed up his shoes, chewed up his ties, slobbered over everything, got out, and Ed was always the one that had to go get him, and that he threatened to give away every single day, but didn't. Ed is a good provider for his family, no question about it. But that day, as was proved by the picture that's now hanging over that fireplace of all of them laying back, laughing in the leaves. Ed's worked hard his whole life to provide for his family, and that day, he gave him something worth all the money in the world. He gave him a memory worth keeping. You know, Ed is a lot like my own father. My father has worked his entire life sacrificing for us. We never saw him growing up because he worked all day and he went to school at night. And then sometimes had an extra job on top of that. My dad worked hard, always has. And he would always work. You see, he believed also, like Ed, that your value is in what you can save and gather and accrue and the future you can provide for your family and your children. He believed that fully. And he was always planning. He's always been planning for one day. One day, when he sells the business, we'll travel. One day, we'll get a bigger house. One day, we'll have this. One day. It was something I always heard my father say, that you're planning for your one day. My father sold his business a couple of years ago, and almost in the same breath, got a diagnosis from the doctor that said, you're not going to get the one day you expected. Now, he's still here, and he will tell you he is a lucky man. But I'm seeing my father not get the one day he had lived his whole life for. And that hit me right here. Maybe it's hitting you too. I don't know. Maybe it's hitting you too, but that hit me right here because guess what? I'm doing the same thing. I work hard. I work all day. I work at night. I'm always working for one day. And he's made me realize that maybe one day is today. You see, I asked you what lane you were in on that highway, red, green, or yellow. And I know that some of you thought one was good and one was bad. That if you're on red, that's wrong and that's bad, that you're crashed. No, it's just where you are. It's where life has put you in this moment. It's not bad. It's probably exactly where you're supposed to be. And if you're on green and you're spinning all the plates and everything's great and you got the windows rolled down, you never know. You might be one dropped plate away from having a heart attack. I know the feeling of doing so much and spinning all the plates that your body stops you and says, if you're not going to listen, I'll do something. You see, all those people who were asked what they would rate themselves out of a scale of 5 chose to write 2.8 because that's how they felt. And I get it. I get it. That's how they felt. But my father taught me something when I was young, when I announced to him one day at the dinner table, because I had looked around that day all of a sudden, I don't know, I was about this high, I looked around and realized that our car wasn't as shiny as the other ones. That my clothes didn't look as nice, this and that. And I remember announcing to my father at the dinner table with my arms crossed in great indignation that we were poor. And he agreed. He said, honey, you are right. Kelly, you are as poor as they come. You have nothing. Everything you have, I gave you, and I can take it all back. He said, you don't have any way to make money. If you had to pay me for what you'd have, you'd be broke. You'd be in debt, even worse. And he said the words I never forgot. He said, if you always look around in this world at who has more, you will always come up short and you will always be poor. And if you look around at who has less, you'll always come out ahead. And you'll always be rich. He said the luckiest of those are the ones who learned how to turn nothing into something. That's who my dad is. He's learning to turn nothing into something. And those people who choose a 2.8 out of 5, maybe if that was you, that maybe in the beginning of our time here together, you would have chosen a 2.8. Maybe you'll change that right now, and instead you'll choose a 4 or even a 5. Not because you feel it, but because you're going to choose it. Because the way you see your world and the story that you write becomes the story you obey and the story you believe. And if you tell yourself over and over and over, we're doomed, we can't do this, I'm stupid, whatever you tell yourself, your brain starts to believe. So if you tell yourself you're happy, if you choose brave instead of waiting to feel it. That's what I tell my son going out on the basketball court. I can't do it, Mom. I'm not as good as the other ones. I can't do it. I said, then you won't. You choose brave. You write that story. You hold this pen. You don't get to choose what moment life just gave you, but you choose what you do in that moment. And I know it sounds pat and hokey and typical of what a motivational speaker would say, but I tell you what, it is true as true gets. That the story you write becomes the life that you live. I can't make you happy, but you can choose happy. And if you choose it enough and choose to see it and choose to write a 4 or a 5, you'll start to find it. Life gives you silver linings if you know where to look. And no, it's not easy. And yes, it takes courage. And that's why we have a word. Not to just give you a word, but if you're going to reinvent and reimagine your life, what does it look like? What is that word to you? I believe you can't get where you want to go unless you can see it, believe it, and do it. So the seeing starts here. What is that word for you that embodies moving forward? I don't know. Write it on your badge. Share it with other people. And yeah, it may feel weird. Do it anyway. Because the power of what you feed and program your mind is amazing. I'm just saying. So yeah, it's hard. It's hard to be weird. I did a lot of things today that were out of my comfort zone. Way out of my comfort zone. I've been telling people all week, the Gazette is silly. It's a weird idea. They're not going to like it. Earl's calling me on my phone. Who does that? That's strange. I want to tell my stories. Speakers don't do that. I'm going to do my hair in a bun. And the victory is not in how much you liked it. The victory is, did I give you a message that you needed? Did I serve you in the way you needed me to serve? I'm going to go home at night, lay my head on the pillow and say the victory was that and I had the courage to come outside of my comfort zone. And it may not matter as much here, but when I go out those doors, there's going to be a bigger mountain. And I'm going to need to store up that courage to stand up and speak my truth. We have a saying in our house that I'll leave you with. When you're running low on courage, we'll say to each other, trust your cape. It came from my son when he was little. I remember he was, 6 years old, I think, missing both front teeth. His hair was crooked because he'd cut it. He's wearing the same cowboy boots he'd had on for weeks. And he comes tearing down the hall faster than the wind, and he's wearing his favorite cape he's made from a sheet and a safety pin. He climbs on top of the kitchen chair, he throws his arms out wide, and he says, Mama, today I'm Superman, and now I'm gonna fly. And I shook my head. I shook my head and told him for the 100th time that day that we don't climb on furniture. You know that it's not safe. And he looks me in the eyes with this wisdom. Words can't weigh. He said, Mama, sometimes there are days when you've just got to trust your cape. And he tore off down the hall faster than the wind, and his little words dove into my heart over and over again. For once, that boy taught me what books and degrees never could, and that's that your life can't always be lived in your ought-tos, musts, and shoulds. You can work, and you can prepare, and yeah, we will learn from every mistake we've made, but at some point, you're going to stand on that cliff, and you've just got to jump and simply trust your cape. knowing that you might fall, not knowing where you'll land, not knowing, is anybody going to be waiting to catch me with outstretched hand? But if you miss your mark, well, I believe you won't care. For I think you will have already found it while you were flying in midair. Now my son's outgrown those cartoons and his boots many times replaced. But I pray no matter what, that he'll still hold on to that cape. I will see, I'll believe, I will do. And then I will simply trust my cape. Today, I came out of my comfort zone. Tomorrow is your turn. I'm just saying. Kelly Swanson, it's nice to meet you.
Great job, Kelly. Wow. Thank you so much. Okay, well, if that wasn't the message that we wanted all of you to get, and I love Kelly, you know, she is so funny, and we went out of our comfort zone, did we not, Mary? We went out of our comfort zone. We said, how are we going to start this off? We want to have fun. We're already out of our comfort zone as supply chain professionals. The last 2 years has made us all incredibly uncomfortable. The world is uncomfortable. And what we need to remember, and Kelly said it so beautifully, is that this is a defining moment. It is our shining moment as professionals in supply chain and personally to reinvent our lives, to think about how we're going to move forward. And I couldn't agree more when I was talking about the beauty of all of you and the gift that you are to the world is truly that you can have a vision, and that's what she's talking about. You have a story, you have a vision, and you execute on it. So what I want you to do for the next 2 days at the SCLA is I want you to capture that theme. I want you to capture that enthusiasm and get out of your comfort zone. And I want you to do it right now. I want you to get up and I want you to go to the other tables and meet somebody new. The coffee break is out there, and we're going to come right back in this room for our next session. So thank you, thank you. Let's thank again the Supply Chain Women in Action, Mary, everybody in the Supply Chain Women in Action, stand up. Let's thank them for going out of their comfort zone. We hope you enjoyed the opening keynote, and thank you for joining us virtually. Go get your coffee and get back in here in 15 minutes.